Brought along a good friend, Kenny Allen, former Hoosier, number 83, back in the early 80s for the Bill Mallory area. Kenny, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Jim? It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
Great to have you along with DJ here. How long has it been since you guys talked?
Man, it's been a minute. We've been making an effort to reconnect, with each other. It's for most of the guys that played in the Mallory era. And I tell you, it's good to actually sit down and talk with Kenny instead of having to go up against this guy in practice. I can relax now, but you could never relax with that guy when he was on the football field. You always had that $1 million smile on his face, and listen, this guy's gonna either make me lose a job, or he's gonna make me get a job today. But it's been a while, so it's good to hear from you, Kenny, and thank you for being here, brother.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Originally from Houston, Texas, and you're back down there now. How did a kid from Houston, Texas end up at Indiana in the early 80s? Because in the early 80s, Indiana, let's just call it like it was, Indiana sucked.
Well, that's very interesting because in the early 80s, with me being from Houston, football is king here in Texas. And then going to Indiana, primarily a basketball school at the time, I had to weigh my options as a student athlete. And I had a chance to go to a number of schools, but my visit at Indiana, and at the time, I had a chance to interact with Coach White. He was a coach there my freshman year. And Lee Corso, he originally started off recruiting me. But when I took my recruiting visit to IU, just the entire atmosphere, the coaching, the aspirations, and just the offensive schemes and the things that Coach White sold to me, I was done. I mean, in terms of a receiver, in terms of the offense that was coming, and in terms of athletes that were looking at IU at that time while Coach White was recruiting. And then just the school itself. I mean, great school. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at that time. I know I wanted to get into business or something related. Just didn't know what at the time. But the whole academic support, the team support, and the players that were coming in piqued my interest in IU. And it didn't let me down. Even though we had a coaching change after 1 year, we got Bill Mallory in. He came in guns blazing. He rolled the sleeves up and said, "Hey, we're going to work. If you guys are not here to work, then maybe you need to choose another school." And I am accustomed to work, I'll tell you that much. So it kind of led me to IU. And then a lot of pretty girls around campus, too.
That is amazing because I never thought of the potential of a player that could bridge Lee Corso, Sam Whites, and Bill Mallory. Yep. And you just did that. And being recruited by Lee Corso at the end of his run, Sam White's when his 1 year run, and then Bill Mallory taking over. But that's pretty amazing to be able to touch on all three of those coaches. Not many players, I guess, can say that, just a couple that were in your class. But wow, what a unique stat that is.
It was because, we were in the middle of transition my freshman year. We did not win a game, not one game, but we competed. We competed in several games. We lost with less than 5 points. So even though, our season didn't indicate the type of team we were at the time, but we were accustomed to fighting. And then when that was under White, when Bill Mallory came in, he really accentuated that. You're going to fight. I don't care, whether it's the first play of the game or the last play. You guys are going to roll your sleeves up and you're going to fight. And we took that. And this regime, we went 6-6 after going 0-11, and then we went 9-3. And then we had a successful stint and going to, while I was there, 3 bowl games. So program turned around, and it was, the entire concept with our team during that time was work hard, roll your sleeves up, and bust everybody in the chops. They wear clothes just like you do, no matter who it is. So, that whole persona just took our work ethic and made us a better team, made us better players, better individuals.
One of our listeners, Sam, asks, where did you play in high school in Houston? He played at Aldine Nimitz in 1971 in Kingwood, and I think my ex went to Kingwood in Kingwood as well. It's a weird, odd.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I played at Madison High School, which is basically southeast, southwest Houston.
You know, Indiana recruiting footprint has really, really increased, mainly in Florida and to the south, but now venturing over into Texas. Got a big offensive lineman coming in from Texas, and of course, Josh Hoover, quarterback, coming in from the Dallas area next year. So Texas, one of those places that produces a ton of talent. Have you ever been involved in the recruiting side or said, hey, man, you guys may need to look at this guy? Or how much involved, since the coaching change has been so long ago, is any involvement with Indiana football for you?
A little bit early, when Cam was a coach and we made the transition. Houston hotbed, and DJ and I will go back and forth to Texas and Florida about the best players and the most talent. But it is a good mix, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of players that that get overlooked, that are unseen. I mean, we have over 30 school districts in the greater Houston area, and a lot of those players are simply overlooked. So I recommended a few players early on, but as we age and have different interests, that kind of fell off. There's a lot of players around here. I don't follow high school football like I did in the past because I'm really working now. But there's a lot of talent, a lot of teen talent in this area. Definitely, I can confirm that. My son played for Ridgepoint. He's currently at Louisiana Tech. He's a quarterback there, and just going to all the high school games and following his career. I've been at every game practically and a lot of practices. I've seen a lot of players that could definitely go to Power 5 schools that were overlooked. So.
He could have been one of them, man. You should have thrown. Did you mention him to Indiana? Should have thrown up. Mentioned him to Indiana, man.
He was actually being recruited for a short period of time after high school. They took a look at him and decided on other guys. And Aaron Allen, that's my son's name. He decided on Louisiana Tech. But it's very interesting because we just got a new coach, Skip Holtz. No longer the coach there, and Aaron is he's a redshirt sophomore, but he'll graduate in February, and I'm quite sure what we're going to do at this point. But we're taking a look at all options at this point. So he's been a pretty good player at La Tech, on and off the field, starting one week, sharing time another week. But he's a great little player, baseball and football player.
Well, I tell you what.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I tell you what, you tell these coaches tonight, you better stop looking at size on these players now. Henry Ruggs has paved the way for these shorter, faster guys getting some league. And I don't know if you guys follow college football, but the current leading receiver in the United States in all of D1 football and the current record breaker that he just broke records for receiving yards per season, guy by the name of Devin Tompkins at Utah State. Guess what, guys? I coached that guy in high school, Devin Tompkins, because I just got out of coaching probably about 2 years ago. He's a freshman, all the way through his senior year. I coached that guy. He's a little guy, but boy, I'm gonna tell you something. He was sort of like Kenny Allen. Kenny Allen was a shorter guy, but man, Kenny was shifted. We had Jim. Let me tell you something. I remember this. I want to tell this story real quick. We're getting ready to play Florida State in the All-American Bowl. Coach Pesky was wide receivers coach. He sat in the room. And he talked about Deion Sanders, who we played against at Florida State at the time. What? Yeah, he was good. He was very good. And you use extreme caution when you throw his way. But listen, we've got not only Kenny Allen, we've got Ernie Jones, okay, on the other side. We've got Derry Eddings, okay? We've got Gary Good. I don't care who you are. You can't cover all those guys at the same time. Okay, how good you are.
Right.
So
It was say that DJ because between Ernie, Stacy,
Stacy, yeah,
Buford, and myself, during our era, we're all under 6 feet.
right,
They
right,
called us the Smurfs, but you count one. If we're not tackled, you count two. If we're not
right.
tackled, count three. It's a touchdown.
Right, right. Yeah, it was, man. We had the best core in that year, Jim. When Kenny and Stacy and Ernie, Dara Eddings and Tony Buford, Gary Good, we probably, I'm sure we had the best receiver combination in the country that year. We really did. I mean, those guys were phenomenal, man. I mean, again, going up every day and practice with those guys. And I remember, like I said, when I was a freshman, one interesting fact, for the fans to know, is me and Kenny got into a fight my freshman year. I'm trying to bully this guy, right? We freshmen, so you come in, man. Kenny grabbed me by my face mask, and I grabbed him by his. We kind of slung each other around on the ground, and then I can remember Coach Pesky saying, "That's a vet, DJ. You better know what you're doing with Kenny." I never forget him, boy. I never forget it. It was so funny, man.
Yeah, it was our first true introduction to each other, and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember that. Yep. Kenny looked at me. Nobody wasn't backing down. Kenny was like, "What? What? Man, you just got here, freshman. Chill out."
It was very competitive between the DBs and the receivers, and we just simply made each other better.
Right.
Our theme was to come out and make you guys look bad.
Exactly.
Vice versa, but it made us better as a receiving corps and a DB. In terms of defense, I mean, I loved practicing against you guys.
Right.
My freshman year, I was on the scout team. I got redshirted, but it was my mission to go against the ones and get better and make them better. So, we carried that on, and that made the whole team better, to be honest. So I appreciated that competition, and I always will remember it. And then
right.
Former player Kenny Allen from Indiana joining us now. What was it like going back to that All-American Bowl? You guys had struggled, and now you reach bowl eligibility. That was the first bowl game under Bill Mallory, to my knowledge, right? It's in '86, I think.
Yeah.
So they had been blanked probably since the Holiday Bowl, probably. So, man, you guys get to a bowl game. You're playing Florida State. Had to be big for DJ, of course, playing against Deion Sanders and for the high school teammate of DJ's. But and Deion wasn't the Deion yet that he was going to be, but he was still Deion. What was that experience like, you guys? Because Florida State, this was Bowden. This is Bobby Bowden, man. This was during his reign of excellence. So that had to be pretty cool to all of a sudden be up there with a Florida State and Deion and Bobby Bowden and all that.
Yeah, it was.
Well, They had we had AT, who was recruited by Florida State, that came to Indiana, and they had Sammy Smith, who was their leading, running back. So that created competition right there. Then, of course, the whole Deion thing created competition. So yeah, it was a situation to where, man, this was big stage. It put Indiana on the map. Playing against one of the college gurus, coaches in football, playing against Bobby Bowden. But then all of the focus was on, hey, you don't want to throw this guys. Well, I mean, Dave Snell was our quarterback, but again, like I said, when you can't cover Ernie Jones at X and cover Kenny Allen at Y and Tony Buford at Z, whatever. You can't cover all those guys at the same time. So we approached that game just like we approached every football game that year. We can beat these guys. The result wasn't like we wanted it, but we could beat these guys. So that was our approach.
Yeah. And to further bolster that, you're throwing those names out along with Kenny. Someone asked, how good was Ernie Jones? He was a bad man.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I was the first one that jumped out the gate in terms of in terms of really getting the looks. That year I caught like 55 passes for about 1,000 yards. I set a few records, but I was a hot guy under the quarterback that we had at the time. And then not far behind was Ernie Stacy, Tony, D. Eddings, and all those guys, if they got those looks, they could have very well did the same thing I did that year. That was that '86 year, and then not close behind were all those guys. I mean, Coach Mallory felt comfortable with playing any of us on any down, so we had an opportunity to interchange a lot. But going into that Florida State game, like DJ said, I mean, we both had that mentality. You know, we can beat anybody. We can beat anybody if we play our game. We're not going to back down. We're going to bite back. That was just our mentality. And having a group of guys and being surrounded by a receiving corps, we just made everybody better. Our day-to-day effort, not only on the field but in the weight room, while we were running, everything was competitive. I mean, I was in a 40-yard dash with Stacy, Ernie, and Leonard Bell at the time. The slowest time in that 40 was a 4.5. So it'll tell you a little bit about the speed. We all ran good routes. We all had good hands. But Ernie, he kind of jumped out. I mean, he jumped out 2 seasons where he was the man. I mean, I didn't mind being a decoy, and vice versa when we had to. But I shared. Ernie stayed on the field quite a bit in those latter years, and Tony and I kind of shared time. And Stacy graduated before everybody because he went on to the Saints when we had that season where players were on strike, so he decided to leave. But we had plenty of guys to fill shoes when guys were either hurt or out. But it was a great group of guys to be around.
Yeah, and it was the beginning of a hell of a run under Bill Mallory. And again, when you were being recruited, Indiana was in such flux, but I guess they did have the good fortune of having a Sam White come in, which kind of bridged that gap coaching wise between him and Mallory, and then Coach Mallory. But what was the belief? Because you had yourself and you had Ernie Jones here, and to get an Anthony Thompson to go with that, because they went from not being very good to all of a sudden being pretty damn good.
Well, you got to remember my statement that 0-11 season, we were fighting. We were in quite a few games. So we had some talent, but I think White, when he came in, a lot of guys committed. And when Coach Mallory came in, we didn't leave. Some guys may not have come, but the guys that were there stayed. So that was
talk about today and your son, the situation he's in. Had that been today, that Indiana team probably would have been, I don't want to say decimated, but it would have taken a gigantic hit because as we've seen now with Indiana, and before we knew that there was probably a change coming, we've seen several players hit the transfer portal, as your son is going to be looking at himself.
Most definitely. I mean, with a change in NCAA rules where players can play immediately, that makes a difference. I have to sit out here. And, when there's a coaching change prevalent, like right now with my son, I mean, Louisiana Tech made it quick. Right after our last game, played right. 2 days later, we had a new coach. So comes a decision on accepting the new system and looking at the new coach. And then if you're going to get into the portal, it's really about who's interested. And then you can make a decision from there. So players have options, but coaches have options as well. You know, this whole change in rules, I'm let's just say I'm a little perplexed about it because it gives a player an ability to decide what's going to be best for him in his situation and his family, but it also makes it very competitive. You know, especially at the quarterback position. You know, Louisiana Tech brought in 2 fifth-year seniors back to back. Myself projected to start both years, so he had to share time and basically play when he could. But that's all across the country with every coach, every team, every player. So, Jim, you're right. At the time when Mallory left, when White left and Mallory came in, that team probably would have been dissipated because we definitely had some talented players.